Greetings and welcome back, everybody. It is another session today on this Saturday, June 5th, 2021 with Michael in Germany on this topic of science is the new religion. Welcome, Michael.
Welcome, Brett, and thanks for having the time to make a second session today. Last time we did speak about the evolution versus creation, and that does not stop with the Earth. But also we go along with the line that the majority of people think that man was just made by accident or randomly occurred when the simple cells were made, and then the more complicated organisms arrived, and afterwards then the animals arrived out of somewhere, and after the animals better animals arrived, and out of a sudden great big large dinosaurs arrived, and after that millions of years, of course, everything needs millions of years, and there is no record about it of the millions of years, just for some sediments and so, but there are more sophisticated people to speak about it. We can go into that, but the problem is that I'm not a native English speaker, and now to retranslate everything that I know from German to American English gives me a hard time, but I think we will do that from time to time. But you can do your own research. This is a study to do own research. This is my assumption of things. It does not necessarily mean that it's 100%. I'm just a man. I'm not a computer, and I'm not divine, and I have my flaws too. But in my humble understanding, the lack of our society is that people are not thinking for themselves anymore. So this is the seventh session of science is the new religion.
I can think of something. A term they use is called groupthink, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Groupthink, yeah, when people don't think is in individual freedom of conscience, so to speak, as we know it traditionally. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, just you see a school system, universities, everybody else tells you, don't ask, just obey.
Oh yeah, you have to obey the common teaching.
Reminds me of the film They Live. Yeah,
yeah.
when you see all these advertisements. What's now with my mouse? Why does that thing called a mouse? Because it's got a tail on it. They Live. Obey. Everybody who does not know this movie should watch that movie. Yeah. Obey and conform. Yeah. Consume, stay asleep, submit and obey. I think that sums it up quite nicely in 2021 and the following years. Yeah. You see that this is a future depiction of the things to come in a dystopian future. Yeah. Consume, stay asleep, reproduce. Okay, reproduce. Not so political correct, but to conform is very good. Conform, stay asleep, surrender, obey, and watch television. So for the few people who do not sleep at the moment and who don't conform and don't surrender and don't obey and don't watch television, and
there was another movie too, Michael, called Idiocracy. You familiar with that?
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of the next stage of this movie here.
Yeah, you see that here. This is your God. Yeah, consummation, to consume, materialism, mammon. Yeah, this is
television.
Yeah. So you only have to work, to obey, to conform and to buy, and you will be happy. No, you will conform. So for all the people who are not obeying at the moment, not conforming, not buying, not watching television, and not reproducing at the moment, this is for you. Just a little bit of fun. Okay. Science is a new religion. Where does man come from? Or mankind? People used to think that there are certain possibilities. Sure, there are certain possibilities because there is one good seed and one bad seed, or the good and the evil. Yeah. So One worldly, there are many deception out there. One thing is the pre-Adamites. It's a hypothesis like the string theory or like the Big Bang or like everything else. Yeah, that there was a kind of creation before Adam and Eve. Of course, that's why it's called pre-Adamite. Yeah, it's pre-Adam. Okay. Okay. So this is the depiction here of the creation of Adam at the Sistine Chapel, violating also, of course, how could it be, the second commandment of the 10 commandments of God. But as it is a Catholic chapel, what would you expect? So the theological belief that humans are intelligent yet non-human creatures, that will be very profound and important in the later episodes, because there are some people out there who want you to believe that there are other universes or multiverses, which cannot be true because it's a contradiction in itself. Yeah. Except the human race or the mankind on this earth. Speaking of us, which means, of course, that they go for aliens, yeah, something out there which is not originated from this earth, which have not 2 eyes, a nose, and a smile or a mask. In this day, you're not supposed to smile anymore. You have to wear a mask. You have to conform or to obey. Yeah. If that does not remind you to the movie They Live, I can't help it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got to take a shot too. Yeah.
Yeah, or they shoot you.
Shoot you up with heroin. I'm sorry, not heroin. No.
Yeah. You see where it's coming from. You see, this movie is from the 1980s. It's more than one generation earlier. But nonetheless, you see that this is just one thing that many people, I was really shocked to learn that many people fall for this, because they really think that there was a creation just before our Adam and Eve, or our humanity, or what else we would bring up. I know that we all are very unhappy with the term humanity, because it consists of things which do not belong to mankind, and also that people are being traded today as items with a number on it, but that absolutely goes too far. But pre-Adamism means there was a certain amount of creatures crawling or stumbling or walking or running or jumping on this earth before we arrived out of apes or something. Yeah, you have to go in context now. You see that the Bible tells you that we have been created thousands of years ago, and we were made in the image of God. We come to that quite later on. But the worldly belief says, oh, there was a creation before the creation in the Bible. So the Bible is nothing to care about. One very famous guy which spreads into my mind is this guy. I think many of you know him. It's Erich von Däniken.
Yes.
He says that there were gods coming from the stars or something similar. And he has made he has sold tens of millions of books with all these theories that I think some of his origins was from the book of Ezekiel, where he says, oh, the book of Ezekiel is depicting space stations and spacecraft. Yeah, I don't want to go into this very far. I can tell you that he is Jesuit trained. Yeah, and he makes millions of it. So what does that tell you when the majority of people believe him, or he makes millions with it? It has nothing to do with Christ, of course, because he's a pseudo science writer. Yeah, a Swiss author of several books which makes claims about extraterrestrial influences on early human culture. You don't think that I have mentioned him without a reason here. Because this thinking of the origin of our civilization, if you would like to say so. This is a thing which, in my humble opinion, will come up quite soon in the 21st century, where people will stare once again to the stars and said, when will that spaceship arrive? This is one of the very, very high likely possibilities that we will face even in our lifespan, Brett. And that does come from the false theory of pre-Adamites. And he is one of the prolific writers who came up with who propagated this idea. Yeah, you see, he was coming from the St. Michael International Catholic School in Freiburg, Switzerland. That's only half of the truth. But the thing is that he was examining Egypt and pyramids, and he came out with the thing that chariots from gods. And he's heavily referring on the book of Ezekiel, I can tell you. And not only he, I myself have read 5 years ago a book that were Jesus and his disciples, astronauts or something like that. Hilarious title. I cannot recall it. I have it somewhere in my basement. But there are many, many people who say that there is an alien influence on Earth. Yeah, if you know, I go now to the book of Genesis, you're not quite correct. It will come quite later. But you see that we are going down to the origin of mankind. You see, usually people think that we have been the successor of apes. The people in the pre-Adamite pseudoscience belief, they think there was a creation out of nowhere. Yeah, because there is no proof for it, but people think, okay, maybe that would be okay, that people reject everything with the Bible, so they come up with millions of theories, and one of the most prominent theories is this. Pardon me. So, even very interesting is in the Kabbalah and the Jewish mysticism belief, it has been said, and not only there, that Lilith was the first wife of Adam, but she didn't obey because she wanted to accept her supportive status, but she wants to rule in having sex. She wants to lie above. Yeah, so that in astrology, for example, Lilith has been depicted as the female. The female hidden power, the power of the black goddess, the power of the unconscious. You can't insert here every feminism.
This doesn't sound good.
It is not supposed to sound good. It is supposed to attract people who do not read the Bible and who want in any case.
I'm sure it'll do that.
Yeah, in any case, shape or form, they want to be equal to man. Which would, on the other hand, mean that I have the right to bear children as a man. You see how silly that whole concept is to reach out for equality, and you see that everything is gender, everything you can choose which kind of gender you are. You can choose which color of stone you would like to have in Monopoly. Yeah, but you cannot choose to be this gender or not, even if you are operated. And you have an operation or sex change or something like that, you see that you're not completely female or male. You can act as if, but you're not. And you see that you have different tasks in life. I'm not going down that road, but it has everything to do with feminism, this Lilith thing. And this, we had this discussion quite before when we got into satanic media agenda. I cannot recall when it was been named. I don't know if it was in the Christopher Lee series or something else, when I said that the right to vote for women, which most prominently came up after the First World War, and then it was also that Lilith was more prominent, and quite recently Lilith was a factor now. The point of the moon, which has not been seen. This to do in English is a very hard task. It is the hidden amount of sexuality in women, and as they promote promiscuity, of course, Lilith is very prominent in the Peter Gabriel script. Now I remember, Brad, we have been named that Lilith has been depicted with owls. The oaths are not what they seem, and Lilith has been said for the goddess in ancient Babylon who demanded children sacrifice. So everybody who thinks that, oh yeah, Lilith is great, Lilith makes me hot, makes me, gives me power and everything else, they don't know the real meaning of that. And so they think that Adam had a first wife called Lilith, and then she was being thrown out of the garden. And you see that there comes all the kind of mythology. I'm not going down that path at the moment, but this is one part of the theory that Adam had a first wife before Eve. So Eve was not, hence the name Eve, which means the mother of all, or something like that. Can you help me out, Brett? I have to look it up. I have to look it up in Esau at the moment. I think that Eve was the mother of all or something like that. So there cannot be a woman before Eve. But this is just one part of the lie. The next lie is that people think there was a complete civilization before we arrived. And this arrived out of the blue in the best terms. That there was some alien civilization being coming down, something like that, and the women. Oh, where is Eve? When is the women? It's just the women. Okay, I have to look at Eve. E-V-E. Yeah, life giver, the first woman. What did I tell you? The first woman, not Lilith. Life giver. The first woman, because she was the mother of all living. You see, if you once study the Bible, you don't fall for all the lies of the world, right, Brett?
Right. That's correct. That is correct. Then you can prove all the mystics wrong. Mm-hmm. You have a firm foundation, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the debate after debate, and Egyptian pagans and Egyptian Apollonius, and you see that a challenge to biblical animism came from the Roman Emperor Julius the Apostate. Yeah, hence the name. and as a Roman emperor, what would you expect if you think of yourself as God? Yeah, the Roman emperor, the Roman Caesar, what did you expect? That he obeys to another god, which he doesn't believe in the first place, because he rejects Christianity? You see that it's just quite logical, is it?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah? Okay, so these are all the wrong teachings, that there was a creation before, or that Adam had a first wife, and so you can everything debunk with the Bible. The Bible itself is absolutely logical. You won't find any other book where there are no contradictions. If you really study that, and I know that are very much people out there who are profoundly looking for some contradiction, and say, oh, this is not stated here. And sometimes you have a hard time debunking that, but I succeeded every time until now. Because you have to study it, and now if it is not mentioned in this book of the Bible, then another accountant mentioned that in his book. But it is absolutely logical. The Bible does not contradict itself. This, in my humble opinion, Brad, is a sign it has been divinely inspired. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think, when you write down 66 books, I don't think that any human mind is able, and they didn't have a computer at that time, yeah, to sort out all the errors in it and all the contradictions. And so it is in itself quite logical. And for me, as Jesus Christ is the absolute truth, not the relative. You see, we are speaking about a mono-deity here. We're speaking about a God, a Godhead, a Jesus Christ, or a God Spirit, a Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. But we're talking about a unity. We're talking about an almighty being. We're not talking about multiple gods like the Indians have millions of gods. And every time they try to catch you and try to get away from absolutes. But there is only absolutes. Either the world has been made by God or by evolution. There cannot be a compromise. Either Jesus Christ is the Son of God or he isn't. There can be a compromise. He cannot be partly a son. Even Satan exists or he does not exist, but he cannot exist a little bit. If he exists a little bit, then he exists. And they want to try to get you away from absolutes. They want to have everything in sophistry. They want to have relative truth. Oh, it could mean this, but on the other hand, don't be so sure. Could mean that.
Switching it up on you,
Switching
huh,
it up.
Michael?
And that's why they have also the theory of relativity from Einstein. Yes, it depends on your viewpoint.
Exactly.
It is Gnosticism.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should be their own God.
There you go. Gnosticism. Oh,
Gnosticism,
that
yeah.
rings some bells. That goes
Yeah.
way back to the 1st century.
Yeah, we're going
Christ.
to Albert Einstein in a few dozens of sessions now. But you see, it's just to contradict the things. You see that in Islam,
like Saint Valentinius, Michael.
there is no saint who is dead.
Well, hey, we're speaking about the Roman Catholic Church here, Michael. It's
Sure,
not just Roman Catholic Church. It's
but the
after
Roman
Christ
Catholic
was
Church,
crucified.
the Roman Catholic Church, Brett, I have to contradict, or I had to step in. The Roman Catholic Church does not also use absolutes because they have not the Bible as their absolute.
You're right. That's 100% correct. That's why you will not find them teaching absolutes in school.
They have
because
their
they don't
traditions,
exist.
They have their catechism
to them. Oh.
Yeah. They have their traditions, their catechism, their rules, their what else? Their bulls, and all the numerous things.
Yeah, there's a quote that I'm going to tell you from the book 50 Years in the Church of Rome. It's in the unabridged version in the introduction. He says, "Ignorance paves the way to the triumph of Rome."
Yeah.
So if we're going to just remain ignorant, then you're going to just let Satan take what he wants, and that is your conscience and your family and your whatever, there's a lot at stake here, Michael.
What did Jesus Christ said in John 14:6? I am the way, the truth, and the life. He said the truth, not one truth.
Yeah.
The truth. Not a truth for you, and this is some kind of truth for you, and maybe that's for
truth,
you.
Michael, yeah.
It's the absolute. I am the way, the truth. I am the truth, said Jesus Christ. Nothing else is the truth.
Now,
so there is no
the
second Christ.
that half the people do not want to hear, Michael.
Sure, but there is no, according to the Bible, we're speaking of Bible here, according to the Bible, there is no second Christ, there is no second Son, begotten Son of God. There are many sons of God, sure, but there are just one begotten Son of God, and there is just one Messiah. The Bible, when it speaks of the Messiah, in the Old Testament refers exactly to the Messiah Jesus Christ in the New Testament. They're not speaking of different things from different viewpoints and different times. No. It's an absolute. Jesus Christ is an absolute. He said, I am the Alpha and the Omega. He is absolute. He was, he is, and will be. But people hate absolutes because absolute would mean that they are absolutely powerless, that they have to obey, and that they don't want to obey. They all want to be their own gods, so it has to be relative.
Absolutely wrong, Michael. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You see that you could go in every other religion. They have also different explanations for the origin of the earth and of mankind.
Michael, I got to admit, there was a time in my life where I absolutely would not admit that, too. That I was absolutely wrong about everything I was told my whole life,
Yeah, but But I'm not speaking about you 20 years ago. I'm just speaking about the listeners who want to find out that if the things that we are pointing out here is the absolute truth or not. And we are just raising questions. Once again, this title of the series is Science the New Religion? Question mark.
Well, that's true, but you got to remember, Michael, we might have some young listeners listening in. And look, you know, it's not easy to live in the adult world now, is it? It's not that easy because there are a lot of things that the adults teach to be true, which are false. And they know they're false, but they have to teach them anyway. See?
Because
it's called politics.
all the teachers, politicians, lawyers, religious leaders, etc. You see, they get their money. They all dependent on money, and money is not the root of all evil, but for the love of money is the root of all evil. So we would be better off if everything would be accessible for free. Then we would not be bound to the god of money, which is the so-called mammon in the Bible. But as we are all bound to the mammon, you see that we will be deceived all the time because people see their profit in lying, betraying on us. Yeah, so that's a problem. But let's go back, please, to the origin of science or origin of man. You see that in every religious system, people believe this or people believe that. They have different names for different deities, the Romans, the Greek, the Egyptians, the Medo-Persians, the Sumerites, you name them. Yeah, they have everything else. But Adam, for example, it's very interesting, has also a major role in Islam. And if you think about the claim of Alberto Rivera that Islam was being erected by the Catholic Church, then it quite makes sense that that Adam had a particular severe important role in the Muslim belief system. Huh? Just one of many coincidences. You see also the Archangel Gabriel, which plays an important role in the Muslim belief. And so, yeah, that is very interesting. Yeah, and also Islam believes in intelligent creatures, so spirits. Yeah, that's jinn and hin. These are things that is not very broadly known. And I have a special education 20 years ago about this kind of, and it has nothing to do with the things which are being mentioned here. And you cannot believe how many different religious tribes there are. They are believing this, they are believing that, and they are in war with them because everybody thinks he's got the absolute truth. But making war against one another and killing others for the truth, could not be Christianity. So that on that occasion alone, you can judge that the Roman Catholic Church is not Christianity. If they claim the holy war or inquisition and kill other people in the name of their God, or in the successor, or in the replacement, in the Antichrist, the successor of Christ on earth, which is the Pope, it is a violation of the Sixth Commandment. Because the Pope is still man, or isn't he? He's still man. And if he says he is a replacement of Jesus Christ, then I ask myself, was he born from a virgin? But let's don't go down the path. You see that we are going from we will never finish. Yeah. Let me just tell you that the existence of pre-Adamites makes things much more complicated unnecessarily. It's just another theory for people who don't want, with every force they got, all the power they got, they don't want to obey God. They don't want to accept God or Jesus Christ. Yeah? They just want to find another solution, not to obey and not to look to the Bible, and to be comfortable on their couch watching television and the next soccer play or baseball play or what else. But they don't want to get involved with own thinking that the pre-Adamites would say that this creation of a pre-Adamite civilization wasn't successful because why they didn't make it until now. Oh, there are several new theories. It's like the evolution, Big Bang, string theory, quantum theory. You see, theory after theory after theory after theory, and every new. It's like fashion. Yeah, every season a new theory. Yeah, because we have news. This is interesting. Yeah, you see, they pull you like a ring through your nose through the arena. Now this is a new theory, and this is now we have a new disease. Yeah, we have something new. In 1970, they told you, there is an ice age coming. In 1974, they told you, we're running out of oil, and now they tell you that the oil is very cheap at the moment. We reach oil peak or peak oil, and now they tell you, it's getting warmer out of a sudden. And in Germany, they tell you that the trees are dying. Yeah, in the 1980s. Yeah, that's why you need a catalyst on your car.
It's true, Michael. The older we get, the more we can see through the lies.
Yeah, you need the CO, the carbon oxide. It's dangerous. Yeah, I know, because the former co-manager of ABBA, he died from poisoning with his running car in the garage. For example, and other people too. You can poison yourself with car exhaust in the old times, and that therefore, as CO is a killer, you needed to convert all the cars with so-called catalyst, so they only will have emission with CO2, which is absolutely harmless. They told us in 1985 and something. Now, 35 years later, CO2 is the killer. Yeah. I just wait for CO3. It's just unbelievable, because you see that we're giving out a lie after a lie after a lie, and every time people fall for it. That's really interesting. And in 1980s,
and they have to fall for it in social circumstances now, Michael. So when you start wrestling with these things and say, no, that's not true, then you see you're going against the common teaching, and you can't do that.
It's always fear-mongering. You see, 1930s people were fearing about the money depression and the stock exchange, the Black Friday, at the end of the 1920s, of course, and then 1930s of poverty, of war. In 1940s in Germany, people feared about the Russians coming. 1970s, people feared about the oil problem and an ice age and the Cold War between Soviet Russia and Americans, the Cuba crisis, and then in 1980 people feared that the forest is dying, the trees are dying, and it's all about the cars, and the cars have to be equipped with catalysts, and you see that every 5 or 10 years a new fear has been put out, and nowadays we are in fear of our life. But let me tell you, this fear is as old as we are, as mankind is. Yeah, they put you under fear because people are being very easily to manipulate and to control with fear mongering. Yeah, fear, don't, yeah, please protect me, and yeah, you see, not going down that road, but it's just all over again. People are being controlled with fear, because if you have severe fear, you cannot act, but only react. And if there is somebody who giving you a hand and said, I will help you, yeah, there's a relief, and you say that, okay, I accept every help I can get. And now the government steps in and says, I am your father, I'm your mother, I am your family. Yeah, I will take care of you. I will take care of your money. I will take care of your health. I will take care of anything. Trust me. Yeah, and then we go down, but again, 1980 movies, they live. Please just obey, don't ask any questions, and just consume and go to work. No questions. Because if you question like we do, then you come to other results, most likely. So you don't need to have pre-Adamites to explain why Cain took a wife. But therefore, you would have to study the Bible, which these people do not. So they do the same strategy as the serpent did in the Garden of Eden to Adam and Eve. They're spreading doubt. That got really sad. Okay, but now we are in the age of enlightenment. Yeah, so that means that everybody accepts everything except the Bible. Yeah, so there are numerous things which Jörg, Tom, and Brad and some people have explained.
Yeah, I can think of one age of enlightenment. Isn't that the French Revolution?
Yeah, or the Age of Reason with Thomas Paine and everything else.
Yes,
sure.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, the Age of Reason is the reason why the Georgia Guidestones have been mounted to manifest these thoughts, so that the future generation they see we have to obey the new 10 commandments. That's my interpretation of it.
Yes, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing new under the sun, right, Michael?
Nothing new under the sun. You see, you can solve all those riddles by yourself. The problem is, these are just theories. You see, they want us, Bible-believing Christians, that we come up with proof. We have the Bible, we said here, it doesn't contradict itself, prove it, and see that everything worked out from the beginning of time. And you see that even Sodom and Gomorrah has been found, and the Ark of Covenant and Noah's Ark and the Mount Sinai and everything else. People don't care. They just don't want to read it. They don't want to hear that. They reject it because they are in the spirit of Antichrist. If you are not in the spirit of Antichrist anymore, God bless you, or God had blessed you. And that's a problem. The problem is that people cannot get it unless they have the Holy Spirit of God. And that's the sad part of it. We are really sad. We are not pointing on and said, oh, you're the unlucky guys. No, we like to have as much people as possible to support, to find the truth. Sorry. That's our real purpose, to lead people into the truth, and in the first instance to lead to real self-thinking and self-research. You see that these pre-Adamites, for example, has the relationship to Atlantis. Oh, Atlantis is a fictional island. Fictional. It's science fiction again. It's fictional. And Atlantis means, it's very simple, the island of Atlas. And Atlas is the one who bears the world on his shoulders. And don't come with the globe earth at the moment. We're not ready for that. We go extensively into that matter later on. But at the moment, we would like to find out that everything which has been sold to us is a deception when it has not a relationship to the Holy Bible. Because also the Atlantis thing is a fiction. It comes from Plato, so it comes from Greek. Big alarm bell. It's Gnosticism. It's just fiction. It's just telltale. Has nothing to do with truth. Nobody has ever found Atlantis. So you could go out and find the Wizard of Oz. Don't come with the explanation that the Wizard on Oz lives on the island of Atlantis. But you see that it would be the same. It's just fiction. It's like fiction like the Wizard of Oz. Or Frankenstein. I know that many people in many laboratoriums around the world are really having a hard time to creating a transhumanism organism at the moment, but that's just in another book. But you see, this is all blatant deception here. Atlantis is coming from the Greek mythology. So Atlantis also is a depiction of the Greek mythology. And therefore, for the character or for the island of Atlantis, they need a pre-Adamite creation. You see how it all works together. It comes from Plato. And you don't want to know what Plato did in his time, or do you know already? And if you know, you really think that he's such a smart guy, or could you imagine that he was being influenced by a certain spirit, which was not the Holy Spirit? And he came up, you see, in the Bible, it's been told that we should know them by the fruits, and the fruits of Plato is Atlantis. Great. So it's absolute against the Bible. A fictional island. An allegory, great. An allegory, and you see that even the Greek capital Athene, resembles to an old ancient Greek goddess. Everything which has a resemblance to Greek is mysticism, as Brett prominently points out. Yeah. Atlantis falling out of favor with the deities and submerging into the Atlantic Ocean. Isn't that a great explanation?
I think we can term that calling BS, Michael.
No, you see that at the same time that people reject the biblical explanation of the creation of mankind, they believe the fiction of Atlantis. Can you tell me that logic?
Sure, yes. It's the promotion of paganism over the Bible.
Yeah, you see, but they cannot prove it, so it's fiction.
Well, see, they're happy in the pagan lie. That's the point.
Yeah, but it's absolutely not logic. It has nothing to do with logic.
Oh, of course not. It defies logic. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
See, that's the deception in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It defies logic. They can't put that, together properly, so they just come up with some fictitious story, and that's it. That's it.
And if you know that Francis Bacon is one of the authors which allegedly wrote that Shakespeare dramas and novels, and he was having a blast on a new Atlantis, and you see that where all this comes from. You see that when he's busy, this Mr. Francis Bacon, on that kind of stuff, you know that he's not in the Holy Spirit as well. You see, we shall know them by their fruits, and this is one of the fruits of Francis Bacon. Okay, let's move on. I don't want to spoil the time with Atlantis. Yeah, okay, yeah. And there are many more ideas what happened. For example, the Anunnaki, a group of deities of the ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. Oh, do we remember that we had certain parts of code word Babylon dealing with Babylon, code word Babylon. Can you remember why the book has been named Babylon? Yeah, because that was the origin of the center of paganism. And paganism just means a rejection of the Almighty Lord God. They wanted to become gods for themselves, as the old false promise of the serpent, ye shall be as gods in the Garden of Eden. So they tried to erect a tower which would reach until heaven, because they want to become gods. That's when you want to become a god. When you want to be a god, you want to be in heaven. And as you cannot fly, you have to have a flat or a house, which is, for example, a skyscraper. There, you know, where the idea of a skyscraper came from, was originated, not to scratch at the sky. And said, oh, I am the... You see that in the skyscraper also there's a hierarchy. So the very important guys, they are on the top. Okay, you see there are many myths. Yeah, you see Anunnaki are deities in the Pantheon. Yeah, ring a bell, Pantheon, Rome. Yeah, where formerly the statue of Jupiter was standing. The god of heavens and the goddess of earth are numerous gods, means a pagan belief system. Yeah, you see that the multitude of anything is always a sign of paganism. Yeah, and that's the prominent thing that many people believe in this kind of deities. Freemasons believe in other deities. Freemasons, for example, believe in the great architect of the universe. Yeah, they believe that there is something out there, a supreme being, quote unquote, which could be anything. You can place a name if you like.
A higher power, Michael. Yeah.
A higher power, but you see that if you believe in a supreme being, Brett, then everybody can be God, because everybody can choose, like in a riddle. Yeah, you choose your word. What would you like? What kind of God would you like to serve? It just what they have in common, Freemason, for example, is they serve a spiritual being. They serve a supreme being. That's their condition. So everybody who says that, oh, it's just a loosely bond of guys, no. The condition of the Freemason means that you have to obey and to worship and to believe in a supreme being. So if anybody is supreme, and fraternity means we are all brothers, then it cannot be a mere human, and it can also not be the one who is on the 33rd grade Freemason, or in other rites it's just 70, 80 or something like that. I have to look it up and don't know it from scratch now. Yeah, but also the Freemasons believe in other deities. Yeah, they believe in somebody who has totally messed it up. And if somebody in their belief messed it up, it can also only be our Christian God who messed it up in the first place. So somebody had to clean up the mess. And so they need several accounts of creations. I'm not speaking about the Freemasons here, which have several beliefs in creations, but I'm speaking about that Freemasonry serves an absolute. Yeah, but everybody can choose in what kind of absolute they believe in the lower degrees. Yeah, and that's a very, very smart trick. These people are not dumb. An organization which would be dumb could not exist for hundreds of years. So people are not dumb, but people are really want to try to get a way to mix everything up. And Freemasonry, for example, mixes up paganism with Catholicism, Roman Catholicism, and everything else. You cannot imagine if you go down that path what everything will mix up. It's so hilarious. It's absolutely. You have to concentrate very much. They catch you in an instant. They use sophistry all over again, but it's not my concern here at the moment. You see that, but this Anunnaki is a very, very prominent false teaching, of course, because, of course, the majority of people, they prefer to believe in anything else but Jesus Christ as the Son of God. Yeah. Okay, let's go again. Since the second half of the 20th century, 1950 plus, they have been the subject of a new upcoming modern archaeologists and Sumerian translators such as Irving Finkel. That's him. I once listened to a kind of session he did, and he said that the Noah's Ark is just BS because it has been constructed that cheap. That it could not sustain anything, and it's absolutely ecological. You see that it could be manufactured much smaller. Yeah, he said. You see that. Oh, we have to make it much more circular. For example, the shape that does not fit, and therefore he rejects absolute.
Isn't that interesting on that icon? For the Oriental Institute, it's a looks like a some kind of beast with wings, like maybe a tiger or a lion or what?
I don't know what it is actually, but
it kind of looks Babylonian to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's into Sumerian translation, etc.
Yeah, there we go. That answers it. Yeah. There we go.
So this is Irving Finkel. He looks like a very professed man, with his long beard. You haven't seen him from the side, with his long ponytail, which also gives you an impression when a man wears a long ponytail. But this is not an insult. This is just a depiction that the Bible says you have to dress appropriate. Okay, but you see that I'm not judging him. I just try to explain and simple here that he has the reference to the Bible, obviously. Okay, because also this his name, his theme is the Ark before Noah, a great adventure. Yeah. And he says, all it has to do is float, and the coracle means a Persian, not a Persian, Iraqi, so a Sumerian boat, doesn't have a front or back, which would be much more appropriate for a big flood because it cannot sink. That's his explanation. If you look at the Ark before Noah, and if you see all the animals depicted here, you see clearly that he's got the anti-biblical reference. It's not hard to imagine that. Okay? And he said, then this room. And in this IKEA list, he said, of instructions, speaking of the one who has instructed Noah to build that ark on this, in this matter, in this way, with these sizes, he speaks of in this IKEA list of instructions. IKEA is a Swedish-founded Dutch multinational conglomerate that designs and sells ready-to-assemble furniture, and I can assure you, the cheapest kind.
Yeah, isn't it assembled by prison labor in Europe somewhere?
Could be, but my point is, you see that this is not science. Yeah, this is opinion.
Sure.
This is opinion. This is just subjective. This has nothing to do with absolutes. Yeah, he's just mocking the Bible, and you won't catch me doing the same. But you see that IKEA list. I said what, and yeah. Luckily, I could have the automatic translation of YouTube here.
Well, that says quite a bit about him, doesn't it?
Sure. But people fall for it. You see that this video, I don't know how many thousands, 100,000 of views it got. So he says, oh no, a circular object is much more convenient to sustain a flood. Yeah, and the one below is the runner-up to the. He's speaking of this. Is the runner-up to the Guinness Book of Records award for the most males ever stuffed in a single coracle. You see, all these so-called scientists are just there to deceive the people from the Word of God, to mock the Bible with their thoughts and opinions. Yeah. You see, the Ark, for example, they had different decks. And much more people, not people, but much more animals to carry. But that doesn't concern Mr. Ivan Finkel. He's just in for his mythology. Yeah, the Ark before Noah. Yeah, he says that the Ark is the destruction is cheap, like IKEA list. In this IKEA list of instructions, he, speaking of God, tells him, etc., of the sizes. And I did not insert everything here, but you can look it up here. It's on YouTube. The Ark before Noah. Yeah. To complete the job. So this is where it becomes something very remarkable. Yeah. So he says, oh no, only a circular object could float and could contain that much people and luggage, etc., etc. So the ship does not make sense. Question: if you have an open-minded and can think for yourself, why are no modern ships built this way? Create an oil tanker, create a cargo ship, create a passenger carrier, what else? Yeah, create it circular. It cannot float, according to Mr. Irvin Finkel. Sorry, Mr. Finkel. Irvin Finkel. People fell for it. People fall for it. Say, oh, this is logical. Yes, a circular object. Oh, great. This is a record of the most people. You're great. How many people are there? Why are all the ship manufacturers so dumb? They do it wrong. They all do it wrong. Only Mr. Irvin Finkel does it right, because he's got a long beard. You see, I can shoot back when you called my God a constructor with simple plans like IKEA. But I'm not judging him. You see, he does his job, and his job in the Oriental Institute is to keep people away from the Bible and to spread mythology and mysticism and all the ancient wannabe scientists. You don't know why he did create it this way. Maybe it's kind of a religion. We do not know that. For example, the Indians, they have a holy river, which is polluted, and people are infected in that river, but they don't care because it's the Ganges and it's a holy river. Everybody knows that. Nowadays they tell you, oh yeah, they have been infected from this disease out there, the disease with no name. Yeah. But that you see that it had absolutely no sense. You have to see it in a context. But if it is so smart to build ships that way to carry it, it's unsinkable. Why don't big ship companies don't do it this way? You see that this put a man in front of an institute, yeah, give him decent technology, and he will blind you with science. Huh? He will blind you with science or not. Mr. Irving Finkel is known for the discovery of the tablet with the great flood narrative. Yeah, okay, we can have different narratives. It doesn't mean it's the truth, okay? He's got an academic background of the University of Birmingham, and his discipline is philology and Assyriology, hence the name. And he's working at the Oriental Institute in Chicago and for the British Museum. He's a British philologist and Assyriologist. Whoops. He is currently the assistant keeper of the ancient Mesopotamian script, languages and cultures in the Department of the Middle East in the British Museum, where he specializes in cuneiform inscriptions on tablets of clay from ancient Mesopotamia. Yeah? He was raised as an Orthodox Jew, but became an atheist as a teenager. I'd say that explains a lot. He earned a PhD in Assyriology from the University of Birmingham under the supervision of Wilfred G. Lambert with a dissertation on Babylonian exorcistic spells against demons.
What?
I'm not kidding.
Sheesh.
Now you know why he does contradict the Bible. He's into mysticism.
Babylonian exorcistic spells against demons.
Oh,
yeah. Really?
Yeah, this is the link here from the Wikipedia page, yeah, Wikipedia Finkel note. And this is the article, 3 Decades in London British Museum, where he is the assistant keeper in the Department of the Middle East. His PhD thesis was on ancient Mesopotamian exorcistic magic, the art of getting rid of demons. If you want to know how men were cured of impotence in Babylon thousands of years ago, Finkel can tell you the spell. Is it right in the eye? Is it right in the eye? This is the article. Yeah. These people are highly praised today. All the people who are putting you on the wrong path of mythology. And this is just the first one. There will come dozens of more people. But if you want to find out on Wikipedia nowadays, with all the youngsters, our children, etc., they want to know what the truth is. They go out on Wikipedia and listen to the things that Irving Finkel has to point out. Yeah, you see, he's got 2.8 million hits. 2.8 million hits. Yeah, and the majority of people, they said, "Yeah, I like it." This is live, dear audience. I just didn't know that he's got almost 3 million hits on this. And he's busy with exorcistic magic, that guy. But he works for the British Museum. Oh, that's no contradiction.
No.
That is no contradiction. But you see that if you look at the background of the people, then things are getting very obvious, doesn't it, Brett?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He was especially fascinated. He was fascinated by demons. He was fascinated by ancient mythology. He was fascinated by Babylon. Babylon is the antagonist to the Garden of Eden, if you like to say so. Now, when Cain was thrown out, when Adam and Eve were thrown out of the Garden of Eden and they settled down, and then Cain slew Abel, Cain was ordered and went out east of Eden, like James Dean, huh? In the James Dean movie, East of Eden. And the cradle of mankind, if you like to say so, is in the Mesopotamian area. And you saw this Mr. Finkel was especially fascinated by what he had learned of the royal game of Ur, which was popular in Mesopotamia 4,600 years ago. So 2,600 years before Christ, more or less. Now, this is a game. I have eyes on it, and this symbol here, I think, does ring a bell, huh?
Oh, jeez. And look, is that an all-seeing eye on the side?
Yes, sort of. But I thought here this shape-like object. This is very familiar.
Sign of Anu, yeah.
Yeah, on sun wheel also.
Pointed
it's a very,
star, yeah.
Yeah, it's very. This is of course all-seeing eye, but it's very prominent on Roman Catholic churches. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the royal game of Ur saved as the PlayStation of its day. Yeah. Yeah, you see that these guys are teaching, or so-called teaching, millions of people on YouTube. 2.8 millions of people. Now, these guys are actually in the business of magic.
Well, yeah, Michael, that's the point. Mysticism sells like there's no tomorrow because these people are thirsty for their form of faith, just like a Bible believer is thirsty for the truth. You know, it's just it's the replacement. It's the yeah, it's a really sad thing. I mean, this is the dilemma we're in.
Yeah. Yeah, and you see in the Bible, you see it's quite obvious. It's not any Anunnaki. It's not a pre-Adamite creation. It's not aliens. Yeah, it's not a stone and a wood.
Well,
It's
that's
not
why
aliens.
people reject the Bible so easily, because it's just, you know, then you have to admit you're a sinner. Then you have to admit that you've been wrong your entire life. Then you have to do this, you have to do that. And they know it, so they rebel.
Yeah, sure, but you see that many people are fall for science, and I think when it's complicated to blind someone with science, then it must be true. Because they think that, oh, the Bible has been written in easy sentences and easy words. For example, compare the Sermon of the Mount from Jesus Christ, which is plain simple message. People say that, oh no, this is just everybody. It cannot be true, because they reject it, because they're in this world. They're being taught that the teachers are using explicit literature and synonyms, acronyms, abbreviations, and special things, and theories, and hypotheses, and Latin words, and etc. And people say, oh yeah, that sounds educated. But the truth is plain simple. The truth is plain simple that people have been blinded by science from the beginning. When the serpent hissed a magic spell to Eve. Yay! Yeah, if you look down the path, we have examined it further here in Genesis 3. It is no coincidence that I got it open already here. It just somewhere in it that he hissed. Yeah, I cannot find it at the moment. Yeah, a snake from its hiss. Yeah, Nashash. Yeah, the serpent was more subtle than any other beast of the field, because it contained the spirit of Satan. It is not mentioned in the Bible that God created the serpent more subtle than any other beast of the field. It just plain and simply tells you the serpent was more subtle than any other beast of the fields. It has not been given a reason why it is so. But after all, when you compare it with the with the Revelation 12, etc., you see that serpent is the same as devil. Serpent is the same as Satan. Yeah. That old, here, the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He blinds them with science. With his science. And what do you know? What kind of spirit is leading Mr. Irvin Finkel when he's totally busy with the magic spells of Mesopotamia?
There we go.
Yeah. And here in Genesis 1, in the beginning, you see that God created everything, the heaven and the earth. Everything. Universe. Everything. Yeah. Heaven and earth are also the meaning of spiritual and physically. And it is, in my humble opinion, Brad, it is no coincidence that heaven comes first. Because spirit can create something. Matter can't.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, you see, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. The Spirit. And I think the majority of people also doesn't know that if God says anything, then it is Jesus Christ. And God said, and God said, and God said, and God said. And God speaks over and over again. And in John 1:1, we learn that Jesus Christ is the Word of God. And God said. So God speaks. And God called. And God said, and God called, and etc., 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 etc. And God said. And if they reject Jesus Christ, they reject their Creator. And then they fall for the lie of Satan.
God blessed too in verse 28.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine what that means. That means that they absolutely are a victim for the lies of Satan when he says that ye shall be as gods. Because if people believe that they can be God, then they do not obey the orders of the Almighty God anymore. Yeah. Yeah. That's the first lie of Satan. Ye shall surely not die. Yeah, and ye shall be as gods. That is what Satanism is all about.
Yeah, it is.
That's sad to say, but the truth is that everybody wants to become his own god. Everybody wants to drive 150 miles on the highway. Everybody wants to have many partners as possible, many money as possible, many power as possible, many luxury as possible, many spare time as possible. Nobody wants to save anyone, or nobody wants to serve anyone, or not the Almighty God. And you see that in the second chapter of Genesis, he blessed the seventh day. So you know that it is. We are no seventh-day Adventist. Yeah, but you see that he blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. And that is the reason why the only work that Brad and me are doing on this day, on that very day, which is Sabbath now, the seventh day, in the real system, not on a Sunday, the day for the sun, but on the Sabbath, on the so-called Saturday, which they have stolen. Yeah, because Saturday means the day of Saturn, and Saturn is another word is a Roman deity which is equivalent to Satan. So it's now Satan's day in the world. For us, it is the holy Sabbath, the seventh day. But in the world, it is Saturday, Satan's day, the Lord of the Rings, the so-called planet with the big ring around it, which in former times was also the Grim Reaper. But nobody cares anymore. Nobody wants to listen to it. Everybody wants to have a good time. It's so obvious, Brett. You see that if you do, you don't need a Bible study to imagine that people fall for the complexity of science in opposition to the simplicity of the Bible.
Well, yeah, that's the forces at work here, Michael. When I was growing up, I remember this very vividly. I told my mother, you know, I just want a simple life, and she laughed at me. And I just thought, well, what is with her?
Mhm.
Why is she laughing at me? Well, now I look back on it, I simply think that, you know, they were tearing down the simplicity that the Protestant faith had brought to the world from the, you know, the leading up to the 19th century, and then the 20th century with the world wars, and then 1948, the nation state of Israel being created. I mean, all to break down the simplicity. Oh, see, now we have a state of Israel because, oh, there is no, you know, there is no historical Israel. It's a nation now, and you know, just confuse everything to the nth degree. And you know, I think that's our concern here, Michael, is as we go further down the road into okay, we came from a modern era to a postmodern era. And, you know, when you study what literary movements are, you discover, yeah, we're in big trouble today because these foundations have completely eroded now in the world, not in the faith that we have as individuals. Let's be perfectly clear about that. We have to do our own study and our own research to prove what we believe to be true. But when you confront those in the world that are not your brethren, but rather just those that don't have the same convictions as you, perhaps that are brethren. But the fact of the matter is we have to stand our ground. We have to know the foundations on which we stand, Michael. And I think that's something we're trying to establish here. That there are a lot of things that we've got to be aware of. We cannot turn from, but the position that Satan has put on people, you know, in our own, what can we say, the way we were taught. There's a lot of things that don't add up. They don't make any sense. It's very confusing. And yeah, why is it that we have a church system that thrives on this as well? I mean, they do not tell you in church the bad news now, do they? They're not telling us the bad news in the churches. So why would they do it in our school system? They're all working against it. It's always been that way. It will continue to do that, and it is getting worse. It is not getting better. That's the point. And you know, our concern is that we keep a firm foothold on our path, which is the old path. It's not a new path. It's not something that we came up with. This is a very old path that has been established. And yes, it is simple, but Satan will not have it. And he wants all of his principalities and powers to follow his will. And that's the way it goes in the world. And I'm sorry, but that's how it is. Yeah, Michael. So I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, thank you. As you see that all the points that we made are variable. For example, if you see here in Genesis 2:23, she, so speaking of Eve, the first woman, she shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. Oh, don't get me that many people think that, oh, that cannot be true, the story, because that Adam has the same amount of ribs. People don't get the biblical story. You see that it was the event that took place was that Adam fall asleep, and the Lord God, or God, take a rib out of him and formed the woman, so that the woman was a part of man because she was made with the help of his bones. A deep sleep to fall upon Adam. Very interesting, a deep sleep, huh? And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. Yeah, you see, the woman, the word itself, woman, derives from man. Either you like it or not, but it derives of man. You see? But also, these simple things people tend to overlook because they are raised that way. Oh yeah, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm a woman. And then they say, oh, I want to emancipate. I want to have free. I take on the path of Lilith. I want unlimited sexuality and etc. I'm not judging all the women here, don't get me wrong. But you see that women, the original word also points to the direction of man. So it has something to do with man. I think people are so used of the complexity of words and so-called science that they think, oh yes, this is just a children's tale or what else. I don't know. It's so plain simple, and I know that I had a so-called friend of mine who had arguments with me on things of political issues and so. And sometimes last year he came up with the quote that, oh, you're only into the Bible because science is much too complicated for your mind. You gave up. I said, what? I said, I compared both. And science could not prove their arguments. Yeah, and he laughed at me, and as I knew that he was making his money as a guinea pig in a medical departments for new medicine, I simply said, sorry, but we cannot argue any further because you're absolutely blinded by your science. Because he doesn't read the Bible on purpose. He says, no, you have to discuss me on the science. I said, science itself is unlogical because physics and biology and everything else, if you really go down that path, there are so many contradictions which are which you cannot solve. But people reject the Bible, and therefore they will not get to the truth. They will study a whole time. It's been written down in the New Testament. Brett helped me out on that. Ever learning, but never coming to the knowledge of truth.
Never able. Yep.
Yeah. Cannot tell the verse now at the moment, but
yeah.
Yeah, and so it is with the people out there. They're simply ever learning, but they never come to the truth because they have to be blinded by science to believe anything. And if they are blinded by science, what does that mean? Isn't that any part of the Bible which tells you that they are blinded by the God of this world? Something like that. Can you remember? Blinded, kind of. Satan who blinded their minds or something else. John 12:40. Yeah, that is the 2 Corinthians 4:4. There it is. Would you like to read it?
Sure. In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4.
Yeah, that's the same explanation that I got, because I have read the Bible and I cannot tell anything from memory. But the God of this world is Satan. For he's not a God because he's also a created being, but people think and they worship him as a God. And he blinds the minds of them who believe not. And he does that with science. That's my explanation, as not only with science, but also with other sins and entertainment and all the things. Yeah, of course. But fornication and adultery and theft and robbery and egoism, etc. But you see, they blinded the minds. Yeah, blinded the minds. And I think that 2 Corinthians is a very valuable chapter when it deals with the methods of Satan to blind the people. You see that everybody who has a degree in this world has been seen as a very wise man. If you would not have known in the first place, I'm stepping back to the beginning of the session, if you would not have known that this guy who looks wise and has a great, it's a quality broadcast here, yeah, it's high resolution, it has complete undertitles, things that we cannot provide because we're doing it here on a amateur level, yeah. We're doing it just out of service, but we have no polished professional product here. You would have seen that, oh yeah, this man is sensible, he's working for the Oriental Institute, he's working for the British, he has connections to the British Museum. Yeah, I could listen to that guy, he's trustworthy. And then you come up and you do your own studies like I did, and you then come up with the thing that he's an atheist, he does not believe in a God, he does believe that man himself can be gods, so he falls for the lies of Satan, and he's got a dissertation on Babylonian exorcistic spells against demons. So that is his thing.
Yeah, right.
There are no exorcistic spells against demons. This is a lie in itself. That also would mean that man can control demons with certain spells. So man are gods himself, huh? You see, if you really go down to that path, you can have it on your own. So we are just encouraging you, do your own research. Do your own research and then look after the people who seem to be smart on the outside. And then you see that these people are into these mystical systems. Yeah? I haven't had an in-depth study of Mr. Finkel, but you see that you can judge them on their fruits.
Right. Yeah, it's something else, Michael.
I think we're done with session 7, that everything else but the biblical creation does not make any sense because you've been fooled by the people into believing that there was a pre-Adamitic creation, or somebody came down with a spaceship and tried out certain kind of fabrication here and then left the earth, like Erich von Däniken and several other authors are claiming and making money with that, of course. We're doing it here for free. That's also a very big difference. We're doing it out of love for the truth. And everything else which is connected to mythology or Gnosticism, you see, you're in a labyrinth. Yeah, you won't find out because there is a new theory coming up next year, next season, and it's just like the current situation out there. If one thing is over, then the next is coming. So after the goal is, or after the play is before the next play. And so this is with science. Yeah, you will never finish, you will never get to truth because the God of this world has blinded their minds. Yeah, and blinding with science means the use of very complex explanations, which are absolutely unnecessary and will lead you to the path on the broad way to destruction. And we do not want that. We do want the narrow path, and that's why I say thank you for listening and thank you for doing your own studies in the future, as you did in the past. We hope try to incorporate the Bible, and then you can also explain many of these false teachers out there. And now I'm handing it over to my brother Brett. Thank you very much for listening, and see you next time. Maranatha.
Yes, Michael, thank you. And I think I'll leave on that verse that has become the theme for our past series that Michael chose, and that is Ephesians 5:11. and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them, which means rebuke. It's a tough word. It's a tough task. But you know what? That's what we're supposed to do. That's why we have a voice. That's why God gave us ears and a brain to think. We need to have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness that this world teaches, but rather reprove them. Very difficult, but necessary, because God reproves and rebukes those he loves. He does. And with that, we'll catch up with you next time. And Maranatha, God bless.